What are the best and worst matchups of the early games on the Week 1 NFL schedule for fantasy football? Who should you start and sit in all those games? It's time to break it down right here and right now as we begin another edition of Locked On Fantasy Football.
Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer, and I'm not doing this. I'm writing about fantasy football and the NFL at large for sportingnews.com. We got you ready for the season. Not only do we have all your fantasy football rankings and things you want to look at, we're already looking ahead to week one. I have my decider column, the start sits up there for week number one, as well as the picks straight up and against the spread that you can check out. So we are now focusing on games here. We've gone past the preseason preview part of fantasy football, and we're diving into the weekly matchups. And we'll do that every week here as a double shot of shows here for you in season. If you're new to Locked On Fantasy Football, we'll break down the first half of games, starting with the Thursday night affair there this week. It's a Bills-Rams opener, and we'll take the back half of games all the way through Sunday night, Monday Night Football there, whatever the last game of the slate is, and break it all down for you. We'll look along the way at the betting lines, the over-unders, to help us understand what games we want to invest in fantasy, and looking at the matchups along the way, as well as situations that we need to be aware of, whether they're injuries or usage. So we're going to do all that here in depth every Wednesday and Thursday on the show, and we will wrap up the week giving you some DFS advice and some injury updates. And we'll start it again on Monday. We'll have our reactions to the action on Sunday, week one, the players that surprised us, the players that disappointed us, and then injuries again to keep track of there. So we're into season mode here. We just gave you Pickup Tuesday with our waiver wire advice. So we'll dive into breaking down Bills-Rams to start the show in a moment. Before we do that, thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. We're free and available to you on all platforms. This episode is brought to you by BriteCo Jewelry and Watch Insurance. BriteCo brings you comprehensive, fast, and affordable jewelry insurance for as low as $5 per month. Check out your special offer for Locked On listeners and get covered in under 2 minutes at brite.co/locked on. That's brite.co/locked on. All right, let's start with the bang here in the first game of the 2022 NFL regular season. Bills-Rams. It's a 52 over-under around there. The Bills have been favored on the road for much of this, as we've seen the game pop up on board. So they've been slight favorites. Now they're up to 2.5 points here. So the Bills going as favorites. There's some question marks with the Rams there. And the Bills, again, not much of a home field advantage for Los Angeles. So let's start with the Bills side of things as the visitors here. So Josh Allen, you're going to plug and play here for sure. I mean, you drafted him as the number one overall quarterback for a reason. Just have to temper your expectations. I don't think he drops below the top six. He's got the running upside to give him a high floor here. And the Rams do have Jalen Ramsey on the back end, but Stephon Diggs has had some good success against him. You also worry about that number two Rams corner spot. That's always been something they worry about there. And you have Gabriel Davis. So Diggs might see a lot of Ramsey. Davis could see some Ramsey there on the outside. So they're going to try to contain the downfield passing game as much as possible. So I think Diggs, with his technical route running, could have an effect here. I think Davis, you still can look at as a wide receiver 3 here, but a lot of it is going to depend on him scoring a touchdown. I think that's going to be the case with Davis's value going forward and how much Ramsey actually sees him in this game. Again, Diggs, he can move around a little bit, so Diggs will be fine. He can get out of this matchup, and he's had some success against Ramsey in the past. Davis, I'm a little bit worried about, but again, he's an upside player. He's attached to Josh Allen. I think you can still drop him down into wide receiver 3 and play him in that spot this week. So Diggs definitely wide receiver 1. That's where you drafted him in the top 5, so no question about that. And Allen, again, temper expectations, but I think you'll have a solid game, not spectacular here. The Rams defense is a little concerning, of course, with Aaron Donald on the other side, but Joe Burrow also put up some good numbers with his receivers in the Super Bowl against his defense until the very end, where Donald wrecked things with the comeback there. So in the running game, I might cool down on Devin Singletary and Zach Moss and James Cook. I want to see how this plays out a little bit. I could see the Bills putting it up in the air quite a bit here. So if you have an alternative there, and if you don't have to play Singletary in the flex, I would avoid him as an RB2 this week if I can, and have other options here. Tight end, I would pump the brakes a little bit on Dawson Knox. If you really need him, you can put him in there, but I want to wait and see what happens here versus him and Isaiah McKenzie in the slot. I don't want to put either of those guys in if I can avoid it. Or 12-team leagues and 13 and above league team numbers here, you could definitely look at Knox, but I would just be limited here. If Davis is going to have a bigger role and they like McKenzie a little bit more there to replace those slot snaps vacated by Cole Beasley and the targets as well, then that's going to be a little bit flux. So I want to maybe wait and see approach to see how they use not only in Knox and McKenzie, but also James Cook, the rookie out of the backfield, as an element in the passing game. So, again, Allen, Diggs, and Davis is where I'm going here for the Bills, and everywhere else, a little bit of stretch extending there. If you don't need to do it, don't do it in this game. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring than people expect. I'm going with the under of the 52. Again, the Rams will be ready to play with their defense, and we know that. And the Bills, it's going to be an emotional night on the other side. So the Rams will contain them a little bit, but the Bills can take over with their offense. Now, with the Rams, there are some concerns here. Matthew Stafford, with the elbow issue that he had in the preseason, we're going to be a little bit cautious. Sean McVay is pretty confident he's good to go, as well as Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. But Stafford, given where he's going as a borderline QB1 and really QB13, QB14, even in that range, I think you should have a better alternative on your team where you don't have to force this matchup. The Bills are the number one pass defense from last year. You do not have Tre'Davious White in the lineup. He's still recovering from that knee injury. Remember, the Bills played a month and a half without Tre'Davious White and still finished as a top pass defense last year. So they have some depth in that secondary, but it is a little unproven. You have Kaiir Elam back there in the starting role. So that's an okay spot, but I'm a little bit worried about what's going on in front. No Andrew Whitworth. He retires at left tackle. Joe Noteboom, they like their left tackle, but you have Gregory Rousseau and Von Miller now, the former Ram. So a little concerned if Stafford's a little off with his elbow and the timing and the preseason. That is a concern a little bit. So I want to pump the brakes on Stafford and not play him this week if I can. I'm looking at Cooper Kupp. He's the stud. He's going to play. He's going to probably see some double teams in this game. He'll still get it done here, but I would expect a massive game from Cooper Kupp, as I would expect the Bills put a double team on him. Now, that says that Allen Robinson should have a favorable matchup on the outside. Taron Johnson is really a nickel corner for the Bills, so he can actually maybe help Kupp and contain him a little bit more. But Robinson, they want to get going on the outside. Van Jefferson is very questionable for this game with the knee injury. They don't have much else. They could look at Skoranek there, or Tutu Atwell, or even Tyler Higbee at tight end. But again, I'm not going to go too deep in the Rams. I'm going to go Kupp, play him as usual, just like with Diggs as a wide receiver 1. Allen Robinson I really like as a wide receiver 2 this week because there's a good chance to score. I think the best source of passing production here for the Rams. Akers Henderson, I'd like to see how it plays up here with these two backs. But for now, Akers is healthy. If you got Akers, you draft him as an RB2, you got to put him in there. Just hope for the best here and hope that his role is close to what we would like as a feature back here. I would still expect some work with Henderson. They want to split it up and not overwork either of these guys. They both have injury issues. So I could see an Akers-Henderson split. You just want Akers to get the key touches in the red zone, which I think he will here, have a chance to score in this game. If you're going to play defense in this game, I think you play with the Bills here because, again, they have a lot of playmakers, and I like them to win the game. And Stafford has the issues, where on the other side, I think playing against Allen is a tough proposition for any defense there. So kickers, you could go with either one in this game for sure if your league plays with that. All right, now we will go to our next game, and we're flipping into the 1 p.m. Eastern time window on Sunday, and we'll discuss Ravens-Jets here. So Ravens and Jets, it's a tough matchup for sure for the Jets to open the season here. So the quarterback situation was Very interesting here, and they're looking possibly at a Joe Flacco start here. We're going to get word here pretty soon there, but either way, I'm not going to say Joe Flacco. It doesn't matter, revenge game or Zach Wilson. We're not going to go with either of these quarterbacks. Obviously not. The Ravens secondary is nasty. It's got two new players there that are big time playmakers in the rookie Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams at safety. You're not playing anything in the passing game as much as possible. This is not a good time to experiment with Garrett Wilson. We got to see what his role is. I think Corey Davis, yeah, you can't go there either in this game. The secondary is just too good. Elijah Moore, if I have an alternative for a wide receiver 3, I'm going to go there. I love Elijah Moore, the player, but this matchup, again, this secondary is the best in the NFL, and it's something we're worried about for sure. The Jets do to have Dwayne Brown there at left tackle, which helps there with the loss of Mekhi Becton, but still, this Ravens pass rush, I think it's going to be revamped, is going to get after it here. So really not feeling anything with the Jets is to sum it up. If you need more as a wide receiver 3, go there and hope for the best here out of volume. And he does get it done with Flacco or Wilson. It doesn't matter who's in there, but you're not going to extend to anybody else. You're not thinking about the tight ends as well as Wilson and Davis in this game. So nothing there. Breece Hall, again, the Ravens run defense was number 1 in the NFL last year. You can go with Breece Hall. If you're hurting and he's your RB2, you might have to play him here in this league, league opener here for you. But man, the Ravens run defense also tough. So just a brutal matchup overall for the Jets. I'm not quite sure what the role is going to be for Breece Hall with Michael Carter in this game. The game script could also call for Carter if they're a little bit reluctant to put Breece Hall in the catch-up situations and don't want to wear him down in that role either. So Breece Hall, hope for the best. I think, to me, he's more of a flex play this week. I'd rather have him in that role than an RB2 there. Now, Carter, yeah, you can't extend to Carter, also not knowing what his role is. But Hall, again, the higher draft pick in fantasy, you got to see what you're going to get out of him, but I would not be too enthusiastic. Now, with the Ravens side, we can cheer up here because the Ravens defense, we talked about them. This is an excellent play in week 1. They'll make some plays for sure. It doesn't matter about the Flacco revenge game. The Ravens secondary is better. Odafe Oweh, we talked about him on the pass rush. The Ravens are going to have a very strong opening game on the road here. It's a 7-point spread. I think they're going to take care of that. 45, I think most of the scoring is going to be done by the Ravens in this particular game. So we look at Lamar Jackson. He has the best matchup, really, running. He's going to get it done. That front 7 for the Jets, a little bit questionable. He'll avoid throwing into the secondary, which I think is better with Sauce Gardner back there. They also have DJ Reed, the former Seahawk. So I might be careful with Rashad Bateman again. Like Elijah Moore, he's that wide receiver 3. We don't quite extend there into being matchup proof at this point in the season. So you should have some options in that wide receiver 3 range. I would try to go there instead of Rashad Bateman. Mark Andrews, I really like. I think it's going to be the simple show here. Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. We'll see about J.K. Dobbins. If he plays, I think I reluctantly will recommend him as a flex play. That's how I'm going to look at it with any of these backs. I'm not going to extend to Kenny Drake, but if Mike Davis gets a start, he's a flex play to me. I just don't know what you're going to get. If it's definitely a mix of Dobbins getting worked in a little bit with some Drake and some Davis, it's really tough here. It's unfortunate because it's a really good matchup, but that tells me it's going to be a lot of Lamar. Mark Andrews, and a deep sleeper in this league, and really as a rookie that we're going to watch is Isaiah Likely, the rookie tight end. They're from Coastal Carolina, very athletic kid. Now, people have been drafting a lot of Devin Duvernay as the default number 2 receiver here, maybe 2A, 2B with James Prochet, but I think Isaiah Likely is going to have a bigger role here. So it would not surprise me if they use a lot of 12 personnel in this game. Keep it simple. Work those Jets linebackers here and really work short to intermediate passing game and a lot of Lamar running here, knowing that the backfield is more of a committee here, potentially with Dobbins and Davis and others. So the 3Ds could be there, Dobbins, Davis, and Drake here. So triple D type of rushing attack here. We had the mess last year. Remember Le'Veon Bell and Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray. Well, this is kind of replacing that here in 2022. So we need Dobbins to get well. We need Gus Edwards to get well, restore this. But yeah, be wary when you're investing in Ravens D. But love also on DFS getting Lamar and Andrews stack here this week. All right, there's a breakdown of your top two games here. The Thursday night game and the first 1 p.m. Eastern Time game between the Ravens and Jets. We will break down more here on Locked On Fantasy Football. We'll get to 6 more games on this show and then 8 more tomorrow as we break down the full slate of games for you in week 1 from a fantasy football playing perspective. Here, before we do that, I told you at the top that this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by BriteCo Jewelry Insurance. Well, you got to check out some of the fun stuff that they've featured there with their jewelry fails. And these are proposals that just go wrong here. And I just saw an awesome video that they had featured there on MLB even about Yankees game. We had a proposal and the guys there popping the question on the big board. What happens? The ring slips and falls into the crevices of the seat, and you just can't find it. It's so embarrassing. So embarrassing. It can happen to any of us. Here's the lesson. You don't want to be that guy. You certainly don't want it to be splattered all over the internet, which that was. The guys at BriteCo Jewelry Insurance will make sure that you get a replacement for the full value of that ring, no matter if it's lost, stolen, or you just can't figure out what happened to it. Go to brite.co/locked on. It's the fastest and the easiest and cheapest way to cover your butt with the best jewelry insurance in the business. These guys at BriteCo are geniuses. They made buying insurance for your engagement ring, your watch, or whatever so free and easy. You can get covered in 2 minutes on your cell phone. You won't find a better deal on great coverage that's super affordable. Brite.co/locked on. We all hate insurance, right? These guys at BriteCo turned the whole experience around. So it's probably the easiest thing you can do for yourself this week. No excuses, man. For $5 a month, you can get totally comprehensive coverage and it won't take you more than 2 minutes on your cell phone. Check it out, brite.co/locked on. Again, check out all those hilarious videos there to see how you can avoid what happened to them with their proposal fails. Brite.co has a bunch of these hilarious videos that you can see for yourself. Brite.co/locked on to get in on jewelry insurance right now. All right, it is time to continue the show here on Locked On Fantasy Football, and we will break down some more games from the Week 1 NFL Sunday 1 p.m. Eastern Time window. Browns-Panthers is on deck here. The Panthers are 1.5-point favorites at home. It's a 42.5 over-under. That's what it's standing at right now. So I do actually like the Browns to win this game on the road with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So let's start with them as the road team here. Jacoby Brissett, yeah, you're not going there, but Amari Cooper definitely has value as a wide receiver 3. He's going to have that value pretty much all season long. David Njoku, it's a pretty tough matchup with Shaq Thompson and some of the guys that the Panthers have there in secondary. So I wouldn't extend David Njoku to me. Njoku, he's right now a tight end 2 in this matchup. I want to wait and see. I think it's going to work out well with him and Brissett. They don't have much else there. Don Peoples-Jones is a deep threat. David Bell, third receiver there battling others, is a rookie. So Njoku, I could see the path to the key targets here. Kevin Stefanski may want to use him a little bit more. I can see that for sure. Brissett being a short-term intermediate thrower. But if I got a better alternative, I'm going to go with him in week 1. Njoku, I want to wait and see again. Tight end 2, Cooper, wide receiver 3. We know what Nick Chubb is. He's an RB1 for you. He's definitely in the top 12 every week. Kareem Hunt is a tough one to extend to. He's pretty reliable. I would say you can play him in half-point PPR leagues here as at least a flex play this week for you. So that's how I look at it. Chubb, RB1, Hunt, a flex play, and that's how I'm going to feel about it most weeks, given the limitations of the Browns passing game a little bit. I know Hunt and the checkdowns could be a big part of what Brissett does, as well as throwing the intermediate routes to Cooper and Njoku. But again, Hunt, I don't want to elevate to RB2 status. Again, that was not his draft status. He was taking his RB3 flex, and that's how you look at him in this particular matchup against the Panthers defense. That can be tricky. I do like the Browns defense quite a bit with Myles Garrett coming in, a lot of playmakers loaded up front, have got enough people in linebacker and the secondary to make plays here in a revenge game for them against Baker Mayfield. On the other side, the Panthers against Jacoby Brissett, you like that. Brissett can make some mistakes here. I don't love the sack totals potentially for the Panthers. You're going to count on takeaways more here. Again, the Browns' offensive line is still pretty sturdy here, but I do like Myles Garrett going against Ike Ekwonu, Taylor Moton, and that to front here for the Panthers. I think he'll disrupt it, get multiple sacks, lead the charge, and some mistakes there. Now, Baker Mayfield are not playing unless you're in a super flex league. You can go there in this matchup of the Browns defense. We know it's pretty tough with Garrett and company here. DJ Moore, play him. I think you're looking at him as a wide receiver 2 this week, and the Browns secondary can contain him a little bit, but he's still going to come through there. Christian McCaffrey is definitely an RB1 for you, and again, roll with him as much as you can when he's healthy. He's always an RB1 when he's on the field and produces here. So McCaffrey, more, you go there. Deeper leagues, the 3M company, you can go with Mayfield there if you need him, there, but only in Superflex and 2QB for me. And Panthers D is the other play here, but I'm not extending to Robbie Anderson, anything else on this Panthers offense here. In week 1, again, I want to field out a little bit with Ben McAdoo taking over with Matt Rule. We'll see how it plays out, but don't expect a lot of points in this one. That over-under says that here. So no one a lot of shares or even any shares of this game in DFS in week 1. All right, we'll go to another game that has a pretty low total, but still higher than the game we just talked about. 46 for Colts-Texans. The Colts are 7-point favorites in Houston. They dominated the Texans in 2 matchups, including a shutout last year. So Colts have had their number. Let's go down. Jonathan Taylor can smash it. Big-time RB1 start for him as the top player in fantasy football. He'll get rolling against the Texans D and Lovie Smith. Michael Pittman is a wide receiver 1. That's how good this matchup is with the secondary here. If you want to play Alec Pierce in a deeper league as a flex, you can look at it, but I want to wait and see mostly with the rookie from Cincinnati lining up away from Pittman. Not going to go to Paris Campbell. Moe Cox is a great idea to think about and put him on the watch list. We talked about that as a tight end waiver wire ad, but we got to see what he's going to bring to the offense with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, if you need to stream him, Pittman and some other guys can help him produce some numbers here on the road. I think he'll have a pretty good season. Remember, Carson Wentz was a borderline QB1 last year if you played him in the right matchup. So, again, Ryan again in deeper league, Superflex, like it there. Pittman and Taylor. Yeah, Naeem Hines, I wouldn't extend to. I don't think the game script is going to call on a lot of extra checkdowns to Hines, so I don't want to go there. Right now, Hines is now your premium handcuff to Taylor. Hopefully you did that in your leagues here. Colts defense also playable with DeForest Buckner and Shaquille Leonard and Kenny Moore on that defense to make some plays against Davis Mills on the other side. Now, I would be careful with the Texans. I'm not going to go to Nico Collins. I'll just go with Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver 2 here. Know that connection. He's pretty reliable with Davis Mills. I know they could throw quite a bit, but the Colts secondary can be tough, especially if Moore gets a line on Collins here. I just don't want to expose myself too much to this Colts defense. Dameon Pierce are going to play based on volume. The Colts run defense is tough on paper, but they can allow you to run for some good yardage here. The Texans will stick with the run quite a bit with their run blocking being a strength here, and they want to put Davis Mills in a tough situation against Buckner, Kwity Paye, and those pass rushers here. So, again, I don't want to go with Collins quite yet. He's a good stash. He's a wide receiver 4 or 5. Cooks, again, wide receiver 2, and Dameon Pierce you can play as high as an RB2 just based on the role he's going to get. I don't care about his receiving role at this very moment. I think he'll get a few checkdowns at the very worst here, whereas Rex Burkhead is ancient, and they don't want to put him out there too much here in the offense. And definitely sitting the Texans defense, Mills, you're not going into any situation there. Now we'll move from these 2 AFC South teams to another one on the road. The Jaguars are playing at the Commanders. The Commanders are only 2.5-point favorites in this one. 44 is the over-under. Let's start with the Jaguars here. This is a sneaky week to stream Trevor Lawrence. He's going to have a much better season overall. He did have a pretty good week 1 against the Texans last year, and that mess with Urban Meyer, Darrell Bevel. I think Doug Peterson's going to establish him. I think I also like Christian Kirk in this game. There, the Commanders secondary not very good with William Jackson, kind of a fading player, the former Bengal. So Christian Kirk, they were going to deploy him all over the field. I wouldn't look at Zay Jones or Marvin Jones just yet. Christian Kirk is the guy they paid a lot of money to. So a little DFS tournament stack maybe. Lawrence and Kirk. Yep. You can go that direction, not in cash games because it's a little volatile because we don't know what we're going to get from the Peterson Press Taylor offense in the first game. Travis Etienne, I liked a lot. I think he's an RB2 with RB1 upside this week. James Robinson, people are worried he's going to play in week 1. I think they're going to err on the side of caution with his Achilles here. I still think Travis Etienne is going to see a chunk of the touches here. So really the 3 that you're looking at, Lawrence as a sleeper, Kirk as a wide receiver 3, and Etienne as a very strong RB2 this week. The Jaguars defense, I think they can be playable in some weeks depending on the matchups. They did do a lot of upgrading, including Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, and all the guys they got in the linebacker core. So when you look at the Jaguars, I think they're going to be improved defense. And the Commanders are going to continue to be a bad defense here. They got some guys up front, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, but you don't have Chase Young in this game. So that's what makes me feel comfortable about the Jaguars. Also, why I would not start the Commanders defense. I think it's a bit of a trap here. Doug Peterson knows them well. He also knows Carson Wentz very well, so you can't really go into Carson too much in this one. He'll be eager to play well for his former coach there. So, but again, I don't want to invest in Wentz here. Again, 2 QB Superflex, different story. You might have to go there. Deep league streaming, but if you're in a regular size league, 12 teams, you cannot think about Wentz at all. Terry McLaurin is in there. I think you have to put him as a wide receiver 2 right now. Jahan Dotson, I would like to wait and see here as a wide receiver 4, so don't play him quite yet. Antonio Gibson, based on the Brian Robinson issue here, the game script should be favorable where Gibson can stay on the field there, so I don't see a lot of J.D. McKissick. I think it's going to be a rather even game here. I think the Gibson demise has been a little bit exaggerated. He has to see key touches here. He's still number 1 on the depth chart. So Gibson, RB2/flex this week. And elsewhere, you can't go too far with the Commanders. So McLaurin and Gibson on that side. Etienne and Kirk on the other side with Lawrence in deeper leagues here. And at 44, don't want to have too much there involved in this game with that point total. All right, we still have 3 more games to talk about here on Locked On Fantasy Football from the early window of week number 1 here. And it's exciting because we have some games back, and that means it's time for some daily fantasy football action. And there's no place easier to get in on the action than at PrizePicks. And I'm really proud to have PrizePicks here on board with Locked On Fantasy Football. It's fun because, again, we're talking about this game. We just broke down this interesting game between the Jaguars and Commanders. So maybe some good things to exploit there with Trevor Lawrence's passing yards, Christian Kirk's receiving yards, as well as Travis Etienne's rushing yards. So these are things that you can look at there and try to beat the number with on PrizePicks. Their format is easy to play, and you can enter however you would like. And really, it's easy to win as well. You pick 2 to 5 players, and they go score more or less than their PrizePicks projections. You can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people, just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projection on any sport that you watch. That includes NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket. And did we mention the NFL? Yes, the NFL is back in week 1. And you can make your entries for NFL or any of those other sports in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe and fast. Withdrawals are safe, fast, easy. Currently operational in more than 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. It's that easy. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On and sign up for instant deposit match up to $100 only at PrizePicks. All right, it is time to close the show here as we take a look at the first half of matchups on the week 1 NFL schedule. It's finally here. We're breaking down games for you, and we're giving our start-sit advice here. Let's go to Patriots and Dolphins here. This is a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Dolphins. Their 46.5 is the point total, so still working with the total below 50. Let's start with the Patriots. If you really need Devontae Parker, that's a little bit desperate. He's the only receiver I might think about, not Jacoby Myers or Kendrick Bourne or anyone else. Parker, it's a revenge game for him, but the Dolphins do have a pretty tough secondary. You probably see a lot of his former teammate, Xavier Howard. So don't really want to extend there or to this passing game with Mac Jones. Not interested too much in Hunter Henry either. Dolphins have a little bit better linebacker coverage and safety coverage here. And also, you got to worry about Jonnu Smith. So Hunter Henry is not an immediate plug-and-play the way he was down the stretch, scoring almost every week there with Mac and Jones. So really the only place you can go for me with the Patriots, really 2 places, the running game and defense. Ramondre Stevenson, we'll see if he takes over this backfield, but I think it's going to be a rather even split between him and Damian Harris with the touches here at least. I don't see a lot of receptions here. I think it's going to be a pretty even game between the 2 teams and low scoring. So I don't think the Patriots are going to be in trail mode in this one at all. So what you're looking at with the Patriots, I think you look at Harris and Stevenson, I think you have to be a little bit careful. Both of them are flex plays until we see how it plays out. So avoiding Parker and Henry and Jones if I can, and they're getting some exposure to this backfield. And of course, the Patriots defense, Tua Tagovailoa does have an improved offense, Mike McDaniel, but it's still Bill Belichick. They scheme, get the job done, and get some points here. So Patriots defense is still a top 12 play this week. The Dolphins could be played as well if you're looking for a bit of streamer sneaky here. They're at home. They typically play well in the early season in the hot weather in Miami against New England, so there's that. Offensively, Tua Tagovailoa, I would avoid here. The Patriots defense, Bill Belichick. Now, you know what he's going to do. He's probably going to scheme to take Tyreek Hill out of the game. He did that a lot with the Chiefs, so that's probably going to be helpful for Jalen Waddle to have a decent game here. The Patriots did lose J.C. Jackson, so they have their shutdown corner gone. I still am going to play Tyreek Hill, but I'm going to bump him down more to wide receiver 2 status. That's how tough the Patriots secondary can be here. And Jalen Waddle falls to me as a wide receiver 3 this week. So 2-3 for Hill and Waddle. Mike Gesicki's not playable. If you're going to play Dolphins running back, it has to be Chase Edmonds. He's the guy that they paid money for immediately in free agents. He's going to get the touches. RB2 this week. The Patriots can be vulnerable on that side. So running backs, defenses, that's what I like most in this game. I'm going to fade the passing games quite a bit, but to the point where Hill and Waddle still playable in this game, but not Gesicki. All right, let's go to the Saints-Falcons. The Falcons are 5.5-point home underdogs here, 42.5. So another really low point total here that we're going to look at. So that makes me not want to invest too much in the Saints. I think you play their principles here. So I don't want to extend to Chris Olave. He might be seeing the tough outside matchup with A.J. Terrell. Very tough for a rookie to face Terrell in his first game. You're also not going to go with Jarvis Landry, Marcus Callaway. The only player that you can look at in the passing game is Michael Thomas. Nothing at tight end to see there. Thomas does have a good history against the Falcons. He's back in the fold. He's a wide receiver 3 this week in fantasy. Elsewhere, Alvin Kamara, lock him in. He's going to be a borderline RB1. He's going to get the volume here. The Falcons' run defense pretty bad up front. They're really struggling. So Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas are your plays here. Jameis Winston, you could stream him here this week for sure. Falcons can open things up elsewhere. The pass rush is limited here. The Saints' offensive line will be without Trevor Penning, who's replacing Taron Armstead, who went to the Dolphins there. But looking at overall that the Saints, Winston is valuable. I just don't know who the other targets are going to be involved too much behind Thomas and Kamara here for this matchup. So 2 QB super flex, deep streamer. You can look at Winston. Otherwise, you can't play him in the top 12 this week. So that's about it for the Saints and their defense, of course, against Marcus Mariota. He's pretty careful in the red zone. We know that was his calling card, but still some sacks potential there and a takeaway as well could be in the mix here for the Saints D on the road in a rivalry game. For the Falcons side of things, I mean, Cordell Patterson to me is the only person that you can really trust here. Drake London could see a tough matchup here in his first game. His pass rush with Cam Jordan could wreak out a little bit of havoc there for the Falcons. So, yeah, not seeing a lot here. So Cordell Patterson is your Falcons player that you're looking at, as well as Kyle Pitts, of course. He's in your lineup every week. So early it's going to be P&P, Patterson, and Pitts. Easy to remember until we see if anyone else gets involved. Damon Williams, Tyler Algier. We'll see how that backfield plays out. Drake London. I'd like to play him in the matchup, but not in this one against Dennis Allen's defense here to start the season. Avoid him as you can as a wide receiver 3. But Pitts, Patterson, simple there for the Falcons. Kamara, Thomas, easy there for the Saints as well. Finally, we'll break down the Eagles-Lions game here in the 1 p.m. Eastern Time window. So still a few more games in that window we'll get to in tomorrow's shows. We finish that up and look at the 4 o'clock Eastern Time window and then get into Sunday night, Monday night football. Eagles-Lions is one of the intriguing games here on the early slate. The Eagles are only 4-point favorites. The Lions getting some buzz from Hard Knocks and maybe being a sneaky playoff team. 48.5 is the over-under. I like quite a few elements in this game. Finally, a game we're excited about on both sides. Jalen Hurts, a good stack here this week with A.J. Brown. They're going to get A.J. Brown involved right away as their shiny new toy. I love Devonta Smith. This line secondary, Jeffrey Kuda, still a work in progress. So A.J. Brown, I love as a wide receiver 1 this week. Jalen Hurts, top 3 quarterback for me easily with his running and passing downfield. Devonta Smith slides into wide receiver 3. Dallas Goedert, a very strong tight end 1. Miles Sanders is a very strong RB2 until we see anything with Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott cutting into it. Sanders is the man here, and it's a good spot here. You can reel off a long run against the Lions, would not surprise me, and maybe finally find the end zone, which he didn't do last year. So, love all the Eagles principles here. Get them in your lineup for sure. And again, you want some good exposure to this in DFS, really on both sides of the equation. And that goes for the Lions as well. DeAndre Swift, love him as an RB2 with a bullet this week. I think he could finish in the top 12 easily. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he jumps into wide receiver 2. He's going to get some volume here. He can work the slot, so he won't be facing the Darius big play Slay matchup, the former Lion, and there's on the outside. But I'm not extending anywhere else in that part of the receiving core. So Swift and St. Brown, and the third element of the passing game here with Jared Goff is TJ Hawkinson. Eagles can struggle a little bit at linebacker there. They have some issues there at safety as well. So Hawkinson should be involved. Again, good volume for Jared Goff. Eagles defense, in theory, I like for a Goff mistake, but keep in mind the Lions offensive line is one of the best in the league when you look at it from left to right. It's very sturdy. So Eagles might get a few sacks there if the Lions get drop back volume in this game, which should happen here. So you're looking at, but again, Goff can be careful with the ball. Just keep it where the Eagles are still solid top 12 play, but I'm not going to expect a massive game from the Eagles in this one. Just solid there in this game, but do like the Lions to play well in this game. But that 4 number makes me want to go with the Eagles. But yeah, the principles for both teams get in. So again, recapping it for sure, feeling great about Hurts, Brown, Sanders, Goddard, and Smith. And Lions feel really good about the big 3 there, Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Hawkinson, as well as Jared Goff is a very strong streamer and QQB super flex play this week. And again, avoiding the Lions defense. So I think the Lions defense is what's going to hold them back. Their offense has some promise here, but in the end, I think their defense holds them back from turning the corner as a reality team and keeps them also in play for us to exploit quite a bit with our fantasy football teams here in 2022. So there you have it. There's a breakdown of the start-sit decisions there and what you can expect here from the early matchups of the week 1 slate for fantasy football. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one Ultimate NFL Preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on their Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For Locked On Fantasy Football, this has been Vinnie Iyer. Have a great day, and we'll look forward to the opener, and we'll break down the rest of the games of week number 1 on Matchup Thursday.